The Chopin Waltz in A minor, Opus posthumous, begins with an E to the right of middle C. When it's played with the melody in the right hand and the left hand playing its chords, it'll sound something like this. So, the keys we'll need are E, A, B, C. Whenever you're noticing hand positions, it's good to push the keys down and then just keep them held down to see if you'll be able to reach all the notes you need. Of course, after this, there are more notes that go all the way up there, and we are definitely not going to be playing something ridiculous like we're going to use our hands intelligently and shift positions in advance to be ready. For these first 5 notes, we have a repeated note. Repeated notes are perfect opportunities for a position change because you play the key the first time with a certain finger, and then when you play the key the second time, you play with a different finger, and you can shift positions that way. Because this position is the interval of a sixth, we could do 1, 3, 4, 5. But for me, I think that the fourth finger has an added advantage of being a little loosey-goosey in its joint and being good at going side to side. So I'll instead be playing 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I pull over a little with my fourth finger and my thumb squeezes in as well, and I can bring my fingers together so that the finger 1 is really close to treble C, so we can take it over after finger 4 releases. My hand, whenever finger 1 plays, my hand is still collapsed from that hand position transition. Whenever I play the finger 1, I'll snap my hand open into one of these basic 5-note positions where 5 fingers are touching 5 white keys, 5 adjacent white keys. And this is a position you should look for. If you can use it, it can give you a real feeling of security. We're going to be able to use it here in this second complete measure of this Chopin waltz. So after you play the 4 on treble C, our second hand position will be finger 1 playing treble C. Notice that there's a big distinction between the quarter note and the 2 eighth notes. If you're not able to repeat this after me with a sense that you really know for sure that you are doing it with me, you might need a teacher, because being able to self-assess rhythmic mistakes is one of the most difficult things to do when you're self-taught. Now we have a group of notes in measure 3 that is much more than the span of a sixth. It is a seventh. Oh, I said much more, but it's only 1 step more. It just, that makes all the difference. If you did 1, 2, 3, and then your finger 5 reached up there, there'd be a gap of about perhaps 2 white keys between your finger 4 and your finger 5, and that can be enough of a gap to feel pretty uncomfortable and to stumble and slip. And also, if your 5th finger starts reaching up for that A in advance, it could move your other fingers out of whack and make it harder for them to push the keys down. So because 1, 2, 3, 5 is not dependable, play it with 1, 2, 1 instead. Whenever you play 1, 2, 1, the finger 1 will move under finger 2 while finger 2 is holding the key down and get pretty close to finger 3. And then as soon as finger 1 plays, finger 2 releases and the whole hand can snap into one of those 5-note positions where you have 5 fingers on 5 adjacent white keys. You'll see that I push down all 5 adjacent white keys all at once sometimes, as a mental reminder that I'm in these basic positions. It also is a good hand strengthener. To play all 5 keys with 5 fingers all at once is a little harder than it might look at first for beginners. And whenever I do it, I feel like I'm making my hand stronger, and I'm also learning how to push the keys down with a little bit of force from my forearm. I'm not just pushing the keys with my fingers. I'm not just wiggling my fingers. I'm planting the fingers on the keys that I intend, and then I am pulling down with my elbow. And so I'm not just using finger muscles, I'm using muscles of my arm as well. Here's that measure 3 again. It's okay for you, whenever you are learning this hand shift from finger 1, 2 to finger 1, that you stop on individual notes in order to make sure that you're holding the keys down the full value, and that you are not letting go of any of them early, and that you are placing your fingers on the white keys before you keep going. So if I was teaching myself how to do a hand position change, I would play B, C, then I would stop for a long time and make sure that my finger 2 is holding down treble C before my finger 1 plays its next key. And even at the last second, I would still hold on to finger 2 with firmness. Now finger 1 is played, I can release my fingers. Now I would freeze. If I were a hypothetical beginner, I would freeze and make sure that the non-playing fingers are on their white keys and ready to play. So we've done the first measure, we've done the second measure, which also included the last quarter note of the first measure, and now we've done the third measure. I want to mention something about the music notation. If you got the score of this off of IMSLP, or if you have a book of it at home, or if you're looking at it on Muse Score, you may see that there's a single note. I'm considering this note measure 0. This is not a complete measure. The time signature is 3/4 time signature, which means there are 3 quarter note beats in the measure. And so this E is a single quarter note, but there's not 3. There's only this 1. This is beat 3 of an incomplete measure. I'm not going to give an incomplete measure a number. I'm not going to say that this is measure 1. It's not complete. So instead, I just call it measure 0. It is a pickup. It is a pickup, and it is a partial measure, and it doesn't get its own number. So we have measure 0, then the first 2 beats of measure 1, then you do your finger exchange, where you let go of finger 4 and play finger 1. Then you have measure 2, and you got to hold this for 2 beats, please. And then we open our thumb, and as soon as our thumb plays B, then the other fingers can snap into place. And snap into place. Now, for measure 4, we have a little trill. It's written out. There is the key E, F, E. And I recommend for the little trills in this waltz to pretty much always play them with a shift of fingers. You could play this E, F, E with the fingers that were already sitting on the keys. And there would be no shift of fingers. It would be very simple and very easy to understand that you could play E, F, E with the keys that were already sitting there. But because of what's about to happen, you would then have to play finger 1 on D sharp. The thumb on a black key for a melodic passage or a scale passage can often feel very uncomfortable. So we don't want to go. There are better solutions than that. Don't play 2, 3, 2, 1, 2. Ugh. So instead, I want to teach you a more advanced way to play your little trill. Get your finger 1 ready. As you're playing the F key in measure 3, get your finger 1 ready, place it on the E key, and then as soon as finger 1 plays, you can snap your hand over and get all three of those notes played quickly. What you do is you collapse your fingers together where finger 1, finger 4, and finger 3 are real close to each other. You can place finger 4 on F and finger 3 on E, and you'll also have finger 1 on E at the same time, and then just play those fingers in that order. As soon as finger 3 plays, the thumb can be released to just sit on D or sit on C or just fly in the air a little bit. And then it will be no problem at all to play D sharp with finger 2 and E with finger 3. Zoom in on just the ornament and get good at it. You can play this ornament with these fingers on different keys for practice. Now that I've shown you keys and fingerings for these measures, I'll show it to you with the individual measures still separated by long pauses on certain keys so that you can think about position shifts and getting your fingers ready, and to let you play along at home. If, whenever you're playing the third measure, you need to let go of the F key in order to get your fingertips close to each other to reach the little ornament, then it's okay to let go of the F key in advance and then collapse your fingers down as we discussed to play fingers 1, 4, 3. Here it is with a gentle release on that F key. Now I'll try the phrase with counting so that you can understand on what beats the notes fall. 3 and 1 and 2 and 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 3 and. We traditionally play this ornament with the first two notes before the beat. These two notes do not get their own counting, and they are just squeezed in at the last possible moment before saying that the last note of the ornament is beat 1. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and. Here's the phrase more like the tempo I played at the beginning of the video. Good luck with learning the first phrase of the right hand of the Chopin Waltz in A minor. I'll see you next time.